Our client from London has purchased this property, £52,000. Let's show you around. Welcome to Project King Street. Now this is a BRR property in South Wales by Renovate and Refinance project in South Wales. I'm going to run through the details of the project, the renovation, the investment numbers, and why this works so well for one of our clients who actually lives all the way in London, which is over 3 hours away. So as you can tell, the property is very much dated. It's very dated, and I'll obviously lead you through each room. So it's a 3-story building. So we've got the bathroom on the 2nd floor, bedrooms on the 1st floor, and then you've obviously got the kitchen and living room on the ground floor. I'll lead you into basically what we're gonna do works-wise and more basis on what the end result is. So for context on numbers, this was bought £52,000. The actual refurb is expected to be £40,000, including quote from the builder, contingency and project management, because we're going to manage it for the client for the whole, we're going to manage the whole project for them, literally hence project management. We expect the value of the property to be, once renovated, to be over £120,000 with a rental income of £750 a month. So the end goal of this one is that obviously clients reach out to us, we found a property for them, dealing with everything for them. The end result, the exit of the project, is to have the property worth over £120,000 once we come to actually refinance it at that increased value. Rent out, obviously at £750 a month, because the net monthly cash flow at that price is expected to be around about £250 a month. So good cash flow from a single let property in a good area, because location is very important in a property. So that's the investment figures. In terms of the buy to let side, the return investment for this one is, I believe, at 21%. So again, that's a first year ROI on a single let property, which is over 20%, just over 20%. So to me, that's absolutely freaking awesome. And it's something that we work heavily on. We work with clients for their portfolios and for our own with these. So yeah, let's jump right into it before I bore you details. Let's go. So what you'll find is it doesn't look too bad on camera, I've noticed, but in person it is quite a dated and bit of a horrible property in terms of the current conditions. So this is great for us as property investors. So first thing to note, and hopefully you can see this, you have the electrical fuse board up here. That we're going to do a full rewire on the property. So we're going to be replacing all the electrics throughout, new consumer unit or fuse board, however you want to say it. So the end result with the electrics is to have a brand new electrical system, LED lighting in throughout. We're going to basically have obviously a new fuse board that's fully compliant with BS 7671 requirements. Basically the point is to have a full EICR, so electrical installation certificate, on the back end, so that we can present to the letting agent, and we've done all the work and we've basically replaced the entire system to be able to provide the electrical safety certificate on the back end to say this property is good to go, electrics are safe, happy days. That's the goal here. It's super simple to do. It just means that you get a spark in, replace all the wiring, replace the fuse board, replace all the sockets and everything, all the outlets throughout to make it really nice and safe. But the goal is to have longevity for the investment from the investor's point of view. So you know the electrics are safe in the property, and also to make sure that the certificate shows to the letting agent so they can legally let it out to make sure the tenant is safe for the long run. So that's really important. You also have the gas supply here. Ooh, there we go. So just to clarify, we are going to renew this box. so everything here is going to be very, very fresh and new on the back end. And what I'm also going to do is, obviously this is before the refurb. I'm probably going to do one during the renovation, and I'm definitely going to do a video after renovation, so you guys can see for a King Street property, well, for South Wales property, should I say, what the actual standard and spec for buy to let is before, during, and after a renovation, especially a full renovation with a new roof, because this is about a 40k refurb. It's a bit more than we normally do, which is a good thing to show you guys. So in terms of the gas, obviously we're not going to replace the gas, it's just already there. We're going to just sort the box out pretty much. New radiators. You want to make sure that your radiators have TRV valves on to make sure that your EPC, which is your energy efficiency of the property, is at least a C after renovation. When you're doing these works, you want to make sure that, this goes for the whole property by the way, the goal is to make sure, it's pretty much a requirement from our point of view, once you spend money on renovating, you want to make sure that the EPC, the energy efficiency of the property, is at least a C rating, because we expect in the next probably about 5 years for buy-to-lets to be requiring a C rating. So just for all you property investors out there, or if you want to work with us, it's something that we make almost mandatory for every project, because it's future-proofing the property from the energy efficiency point of view, and to make sure it's compliant in 5 years' time. Because otherwise, if you can't rent out, what's the whole point? No cash flow, etc. So yeah, got that. That's to make that. Well, yeah. So you're going to have new radiators throughout, TRVs on every single one. Obviously, the gas is in there because there's a combi boiler upstairs. It's a combination boiler, and what we're going to do is replace that as well and make sure that's all basically it's secure longevity. You're replacing things to make sure longevity is secured in the property. Same as the combi boiler, to make sure that there's no breakdowns of combi boilers on Christmas Day and there's no headaches for the investors. And I think that's about that. So flooring, windows are actually good condition already. So windows are actually all right. There's nothing to change there. Windows are very, very expensive if you have to change them. So always be careful when costing up your windows to make sure that if you have wooden windows, get them replaced. They have to be ideally you want PVC double glazed windows to make sure that your energy efficiency and longevity is there. So here is the kitchen, and the first thing you'll notice is the light isn't very good, so bear with me, but I will change the angle so you get more context on this. Basically, this is all going to be ripped out, completely fresh new space, and the really good thing about that is the amount of space we can utilise with the new kitchen coming in is valuable, because we've got space to utilise. We can make it as nice as we want. We're going to pretty much copy and paste the layout as it already is. So obviously you've got the units around the back, you've got the island in the middle. We're going to replace that as it is. We're going to make sure that the new kitchen coming in has got an island in the middle, got all these basics involved. But the real beauty is that kitchens and bathrooms add a lot of value to properties, and the fact that we have a large area to utilise for the kitchen means that we can maximise the actual end value upon refinance. So when the value comes on the back end, they see a nice, modern, spacious kitchen, which is really good. Bathroom isn't that big here, but this counters that as well. Also, rentability. You can charge, typically, bit of variables to consider, but typically you can charge as much rent as you want within the area, or you can try to achieve the maximum cap for the area if you have things like bigger kitchens, modern kitchens, etc. Obviously, there's certain variables like, also having, a large house, having a large bathroom, number of bedrooms, etc. But in terms of just talking about the kitchen, having a spacious, large, modern kitchen really increases rentability and market value and the actual values of property. So really good things to consider. If you look, because people love space to utilize. If you think about it, if someone's coming in to buy later on, if you choose to sell a property, they want to make it their home, and if you've got a nice large kitchen, it's more practical for them. Same as renters, if a tenant comes in and they see a nice large utilizable kitchen, it really helps us be able to charge more for the rent. I'm not talking like stupid prices. Every area's got a cap that's realistic, and we don't want to overcharge people just to be greedy. The whole point is, from an investor point of view, you want to actually achieve as much rent as possible, but you also want to be fair for the area. You don't want to be completely selfish and greedy with this. You want to make sure it makes sense, because otherwise it's never going to rent anyway, and there's a complete lose-lose. The whole point of this is to turn rundown properties into really nice long-term housing for people who want to rent, who don't want to buy or want to buy later on. And this is a really positive thing we're doing. But just before I get completely off topic, the kitchen really is a focal point with that, especially with this property. Again, good size. Having the island is a bit unique. You don't tend to find that many islands. So it's kind of the fact that you can have like a kitchen counter or something in here is a really big positive. So you can't actually see from the angle how bad the units are and everything, but this is almost irrelevant, because all that really matters for us is the fact that we're going to rip all this out. We have a water supply already here. We have the supply for the electrics already in here. We're going to replace the electrics anyway. And we're not too fussed, to be honest with you, on things as they are. The main thing at this stage is the fact that we can rip everything out. I'm going to show you the damp issue on the wall, which is really important to consider as well. So really important point in this, structures. So for every purchase we do, whether for our own portfolio or for clients, we always get a level 3 building survey carried out. The reason for this is if you come to a property like this, for example, that's in terrible condition or very, very dated condition that you're going to renovate, you want to make sure that, yes, you're internally renovating because that's most of the renovation, but the structure, ground and roof are really important to this, because you can spend 40 grand internally and make it a palace, but then if the structure isn't great, if the walls aren't insulated or secured, or they got damp coming in and the ground is loose, and then the property's sinking, or the roof is in poor condition, which it actually is, but we'll get into that later on, in poor condition, and therefore you're going to have leaks. You're spending money and then it's just going to go down the drain, because no one's going to be able to rent because it's not safe, and you're just going to have structural issues where you've got leaks coming in and damages and all this kind of stuff, and you're going to have mold build up. So getting the structure and ground and roof sorted for the property is so important. So I highly recommend, if anyone's watching this and you're not going to work with us but you want to invest yourself, always get a level 3 building survey carried out on your properties. You can get it for residential as well, but this is mainly for buy-to-lets, because it's what we do. That's obviously the reference to the video, pretty much. Because any good surveyor who will come to the property with that to produce a report will give you the basically the structural report on it. It doesn't have to be too in depth, but just to say, look, you have moisture down here, you have this and that. They've highlighted potential issues to you. You can relay that to your builder and get them rectified. So the whole point is you can spend the money now so that you don't have to bother later on, and your tenants are safe and your investment is as secure as possible. So just a note on that, which feeds me nicely into this wall. So the property, apart from the roof, the property isn't that bad with damp, which is a big surprise, to be honest with you. So, but down here is quite important. So it's not a huge issue, but we're gonna pretty much tank this area, get this wall sorted out. There's a bit of damp coming in through the wall. It's not a huge issue. It's just got to be factored into costs. And this is obviously part of the 40k refurb, of course. I think the quote is about 38 or 37k or something like that. But that's obviously factored into the quote to make sure that's covered. Because again, you don't want tenants to come in here, brand new, beautiful kitchen, all this kind of stuff, and then have this big lot of mold coming in and then leave, and you have to spend money later on. So we're going to get that sorted, and that's following the building report. So we had the report come in during conveyancing, during the purchase. The report came back, we identified the issues. The roof's an obvious one, which I'll point out later on, but the damp is also something to factor in, just so you can get it rectified at the start, just to kind of give you peace of mind moving forward. So bedroom number 1, I'm going to headbutt that a few times, I bet, but obviously this is all going to get replaced because that's, you know, the electrics and everything. 3 things I want to note in here, 2 things straight away. Boiler getting replaced. Again, boilers are one of the most common things to break down at some point, so having a good quality boiler, you don't have to spend 10 grand on one, but you can get cheap boilers and you can get very expensive ones. I always recommend consider an expensive one, but definitely go for a middle range one at bare minimum, because if you get a cheap one and it breaks down within a year, what's the point? You can spend 3 grand on a cheap one and buy one a year, or spend 5 to 6 grand on one, and you know, you get the point, right? So buy cheap, buy twice. So that's my advice. One thing I'm very happy with from the investor's point of view with this property is the windows. The windows are in good condition throughout, and it's something I'm really pleased with because it saves a lot of the costs, and it makes the project a lot simpler, because there's a few complications with this one in addition to what we normally do for our normal projects. But replace the boiler, radiator, again, getting these sorted, TRV valves on them. Just to add as well, so throughout the property is a very common theme here in terms of the flooring not being that secure. So what we're going to be doing is ripping up the carpets, securing the floorboards where needed to make sure they're solid and sorted. New flooring throughout the property, that's an absolute given because it's absolutely horrible as it is. We're going to be taking all this wallpaper off, painting throughout, plastering and then painting, and then even plastering all this as well. So we're pretty much going to be plastering most of the property where needed. The idea is that you're going to have brand new flooring, so dark, long, thick carpets. Dark, thick carpets, not long carpets. You're going to have it plastered throughout, so you're going to have a nice, fresh, modern feel to it, and painted white, because white, when people walk into a white property, it just feels more open and cleaner, and because you're plastering everything and you're basically replacing everything, it will be nice and clean and it will be a really fresh and really nice house to live in at the end. And I'll be honest with you, I can't wait to get this one completed. Probably around about March, probably about April time, to be honest with you, at a push, because it's going to be a beautiful project afterwards. It's not even a big house, but the fact that the flooring's so poor here, and the flooring in terms of security, in terms of the floorboards, the stairs are very loose as well. I'll show you the second bedroom now, but you've also got a lot of ceiling issues, got holes in ceilings. We've got to put a door up here as well. There's a lot of things to change here. This is why it's a full renovation, because you can change the electrics, flooring, walls, and ceiling. So it's a proper job. Bedroom number 2, and the first thing I want to point out is the fact that the ceiling is falling down. So yeah, it sounds bad, but it was a good negotiation tactic as well when we walked in to say, look, you've literally got the ceiling falling down. Can we negotiate the price a little bit? The vendors, the owners of this property were so nice. I'm going to feed into the story of this property as well, because it's taken us about 2 years to actually secure it, or just under 2 years, and it's no fault of the vendor. It's just been a bit of a nightmare, but we finally actually got it secured. But through all that process, there was a lot of negotiation going on with things like this, where the ceiling's literally falling down. Got to clear up the attic and everything. Again, you can see how horrible the flooring is. New radiators, new plastering needed throughout, ceilings, it's new internal doors. It's pretty much the full malarkey. What I would recommend is for anyone who's not patient enough to wait 4 months for the completion video, check out our channel for other videos where we do post-completion videos. Lyle Street, that's a good video, and I'll probably tag that into here as well, or tag it in the description, because it gives some context as to kind of the finish we go for. So this is the beauty of this. You can see the dated, horrible condition it's in now. Wait 4 months until it's done, and that's the beauty of renovations and projects that we do. And we're doing this day in, day out, by the way. So at least to give some context, and I'd really recommend for anyone wanted to see what this looks like in a few months, definitely watch that video, and I'll put a link in comments. Link in description. Again, I'm really happy with the windows. Windows are in good condition, and it's genuinely a pleasant surprise. Again, you can see the mess that the previous person living here left, but to us, problems are a really good thing. Problems are a really, really good thing that we work with, and we literally try to find problem properties in order to kind of help. So we get a lot of stick as investors for trying to be greedy, make money out of things, but we only really touch properties in terms of renovations, all this kind of stuff, that first-time buyers wouldn't touch. Most other buyers wouldn't touch anyway, because people don't want to spend 40 grand on a renovation. We're happy to come in, get a bit of a discount on it, and spend 30 to 40 grand completely renovating it, and then make sure a tenant has a nice family home on the back end, which I think is pretty damn awesome. Excuse the French. Yeah, so that's just a really positive thing that I think that we do. So what I'm going to do for you guys is give you a first-person perspective on the first to second floor stairs, right? It's creepy as hell, but bear with me. So you're going to be opening all this up. Well, we're going to be doing all that. And then obviously this bit as well. And you can see how much space there is to utilize. Like if you opened all this up, you'd have quite an open area up here, which I'm really excited for, because currently, hence the recording tactic, it's all kind of like tight and close. But when we open all this up, it'd be more space to utilize, and exciting times. The stairs are quite dodgy as well, so we're going to pretty much replace a lot of this work as well. Obviously the flooring is absolutely horrible, but here is the bathroom, and this is interesting, and I'll lead into why. Bear with me on this bit. I will try to explain, but it's a bit tight up here to explain. Basically, this is the roof, and all the felts come off, and it's just absolutely knackered. This is currently the second floor of the property, and this is obviously the bathroom. But basically, the roof is in such poor condition. We're going to be replacing the entire thing, getting all this bit sorted out. There's obviously holes in here as well. Surprised not more water has come through, but here we are. Ironically, it's not even that bad of a size for a bathroom, but we're going to replace it anyway and get everything sorted out. So again, new flooring, new tiles, replace the roof, got your wash basin, toilet, shower, all the basics are here. And the good thing is that I can turn this around, but basically we're going to be opening up the side of this as well, and all these shelving bits to maximize the potential floor, because it's not actually that bad. One thing the investor actually really liked to think about was the fact that if you've got tenants in here, they might want a bath, because obviously if they've got a family, they might want a bath, right? So what we're also looking to do is potentially put a bathtub in here, and then obviously have the toilet down there, wash basin, and have a bathtub in this area instead of just a shower, and just have that fitted into this area, which I think is quite cool. And the good thing is on the first floor, like you've seen, we have the boiler. So we have the actual hot water supply coming up. We don't use any electrics up here then, and then we just have a mains fed water supply for hot water up here. So it's quite a good idea, and I'm actually really excited to see what this is going to be like after the renovation. I'm excited for the whole project, but this is quite a unique one where we don't often change entire roofs because it's not needed, but with this one, we pretty much do. So just to give some context on the size of this, we've got some areas down here, yada, yada, yada. Again, take all this out, open it all up, and then you can kind of see how nasty it all is, which we absolutely love. So yeah, good times. But we're excited. Going to be taking all this shower out as well. It's going to be a really nice area up here. So let me tell you the story of how this even came about. So client lives in London, like I said, reached out to us through social media. I think it was Instagram, I believe, it doesn't really matter. Because we have an Instagram channel, Facebook channel, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and we pretty much were on almost every platform, apart from X, Twitter. But basically, they reached out to us, and they want to get invested in property. They live in London, where it's incredibly expensive. We're talking like 300k plus, but actually probably about $500,000 plus, to be honest with you. So property prices in South Wales are probably about a fifth the price of London, which I think is absolutely awesome. It's a much lower barrier to entry to actually purchase, obviously, and the rents are quite strong here, which means the actual yield, and yield dictates cash flow, because yield indicates cash flow. The yield for these single lets is around about 9.5% to 10%, which means that the cash flow from one investment property, net monthly cash flow, is probably over at least £250. So you can see the power of doing this. Like, they've reached out to us, they want to build a portfolio. They can see that if they buy one, it's okay. But if you have a portfolio of these, once you get to 10 properties, you're pretty much getting about £2,500 net monthly income, so long as you've got no void period for tenants. And it means that if you actually accumulate the portfolio to be large enough to kind of counter any voids and all that kind of stuff, then you're probably making about 30 grand a year just from that, you know? And if you think of an annual salary in the UK, you're talking like 30k plus, 35k anyway. And it shows the power of doing this, because if you target building an actual whole portfolio, it just means that you can literally match the typical annual salary for a UK person, which is absolutely amazing. You can have the cash flow there, but importantly, these properties have equity in them. So you've got the cash flow that's giving you, 30 grand a year once you get to about 10 properties, which is what we do for ourselves. Then you've got the equity. So typically these have about 20 to 25k of equity. So if you had 10 of those, you've got 200 grand worth of equity from a portfolio of 10 properties, bare minimum. And then if you've got appreciation on top of that. So in South Wales, I think we're expecting around about 20% capital appreciation next 5 years. So if you've got a portfolio of 10 properties with 200 grand, at least 200 grand of equity, and then you've got appreciation of 20% on top of that, and these properties are appreciating while being cash flowing and doing no additional work, you're adding, 100 grand onto your, not 100 grand, but like 50 to 100 grand in terms of wealth to your portfolio from doing no work, and you're having the cash flow in the background. This is the power of investing correctly. And this is why I do what I do, investing in property in South Wales, and have been doing for over half a decade. And this is exactly why I have other people do the same. We have other options to do so. We can do loans with people. We can do, again, portfolio building or joint ventures. And I'll feed into that shortly. But just in terms of this project and how this has come about, this is exactly the vision we have for this client. They had about 100k. Well, yeah, they started with 100k. Now it's invested into this 100k capital, and now they want to crack on and do this whole project fully cash bought, which is the best way to buy property. So if you've got 100k, be sure to reach out if you want to get doing these. It's the best way to invest, and it means that they can do the full project in cash. They're gonna by doing this with cash, they can actually achieve the maximum return on investment because they don't have any lending options, they don't have any lending complications or whatnot, and it means their actual return on investment is going to be at least 20% ROI. So it's at least 20%, 20 grand back in their pocket very shortly after, right? So really positive project for them. And they reached out to us. We knew the vendor quite well. The vendor is the owner of the property, so we knew them quite well. And basically, they couldn't sell for a long time. They had some agent complications. I know good and bad agents in South Wales. It wasn't going well with this one, and yeah, basically they they reached out to us several times. We had a few buyers who could help. Long story short, it took them probably nearly 2 years to sell this property, and that wasn't even because of them expecting more than what it was worth. They actually were happy to reduce the price, but having a good estate agent, having an actual interested buyer who's actually serious about buying is really important. So if anyone's looking to do flips, it's so market dependent and so different way to approach things. If you're doing flip projects, you've got to make sure the market's right. You've got to make sure you're super conservative with your figures and you buy them with cash ideally. So that's just a bit of heads up for anyone doing flips, because we do flips. We've got a few of them going right now, and you've got to be very conservative to make sure you're protected, because you're relying on someone to come in the back end and buy it, which is the exact problem this vendor had at the time. They had people coming in and they were making offers, but then within a month they pull out. We had a few neighbour issues as well, which didn't help things at all, but you can't please everyone. So long story short, we knew the vendor and this property quite well. The buyer came up to us looking for investment, and this fitted them perfectly and was well within their budget. Well, it was spot on within their budget, actually. I'll correct myself there. It was pretty much bang on. So that was great. So yeah, they bought a £52,000, refurb 40 grand with everything included. We also have a buffer there, so we've got a quote of around about, I believe, about 36 grand off the top of my head. I could be wrong there, for the builder's quote. So we've added X amount of project management and a couple of grand of contingency to make sure that if you're doing all this works, it's at least you can actually have a safety bracket there to make sure that, because things always go over. I guarantee you, if you do any project, any renovation, there will be costs go over. It's just a case of how much you've got a safety bracket of to make sure you're protecting yourself. Because I've been investing for years. I've never had a project not to go over. Just to clarify that. So yeah, just to give a quick summary on this video of the project. So we've got new kitchen going in, new bathroom going in, replacing the roof. You've got new flooring throughout. You've got plastering throughout, painting throughout, new radiators with TRVs, new electrical system, new boiler, obviously boxing the gas. It's a full renovation for us, and it just means that the client can live 3 hours away. I had a good conversation this is January now, start of January, and I had a good conversation with them, the client obviously. And the beauty is that they can come over now to kind of just check in with the project and at the end. But in theory, maybe even halfway through the project, but in theory, we can just crack on with it. We use WhatsApp communication for everything to make sure that communication's great, to make sure that every 2 weeks we can update them with photos and videos, project updates, just to keep communication good. I talk to my clients almost every day to a point. I don't want to harass them, but you get the point. So at least it kind of helps us help them. So this is a standard buy, renovate, refinance project. Really happy with it, and I can't wait to get this one going. We've just finished New Year's now, so we're going to be literally starting this refurb project from tomorrow properly and get it ripped out. So I'll be documenting this as we go, and I just want to kind of outline the ways to work with us with these sort of projects. There's 3 ways that you can work with us dealing with everything. So with this project, we've dealt with conveyancing. So we've got the solicitors, brokers, builders, staging companies, letting agents and estate agents that I've built. I've got a team here in South Wales that we work with to allow people to kind of invest effectively and save costly mistakes. That's pretty much the business that I've created here to make sure that an investor's got capital and they can invest with us, and how they do that every step of the purchase process, we've got covered. So they just come in with money and we can do with everything. So for context, the way this works is if someone comes up to us with between 30 grand to 100 grand, we tend to work with them on an angel loan basis where we can give them a fixed return. we invest in these projects ourselves because we buy a lot of these ourselves, and then they get a fixed return over X duration. So, and it's the safest way to work with us because it means that you can invest your money, get a great return. It's typically about 3 times stronger than the bank is, 3 times better than the bank is interest rate wise. And you know on the back end what you're going to get in terms of you invest, I don't know, 50 grand today, and then within 3 years you get 70 grand back, and it means that you can increase your capital that way to invest later on. I've got a couple of clients doing this at the moment where they're literally investing about 55 to 60 grand into us, and they're going to get about 75 to 80 grand back over, I think, about 3 years. I can go into details, but around about 75 grand in 3 years, with the goal of increasing their capital, and in 3 years' time, using that 80 grand to build a portfolio that way. So it's a smart way of increasing cash in a low risk way directly with us. And it doesn't mean you actually buy the properties. It just means that you're investing in them. We invest in the properties and you get a fixed loan back. So really good way of working with us. Highly recommend that if you are a bit nervous about investing in property, but still want to have your money working harder for you. Option number 2 is projects like this, where you actually buy the properties yourselves. Typically, we tend to work with people who have between 70 plus, ideally about 100 grand, but 70 plus. The more the better, really, cash-wise. The only reason I say that is you have to have enough capital to actually make the investment in the first place, because otherwise, you know, you're scrapping for money, and it's kind of like you have to have enough money to actually utilize in these projects. So I hope that gives some context. But basically, with these projects, we make a 5-year plan with you to say, look, you have this amount of capital here. What do you want out of property? Do you want to make 3 grand a month, 5 grand a month net monthly cash flow? Do you want to have a portfolio of 200 grand equity within 5 years? How much does your capital give you in terms of exactly that? And then we can work it from there. The whole point is to kind of get where you are capital-wise, position-wise. Where do you want to be? Do you want a legacy? Do you want a portfolio? Do you want a lot of people work with us to build a portfolio to pass on to their kids later on, which is a really smart way of doing it, because you can create a company, be the director, and then make them a director later on in like 5-10 years, and they automatically become millionaires, which is kind of cool. So yeah, a lot of people do this with long-term thinking in mind, which is vital in property, because property is get rich slow. You will get rich, but you have to be patient with it and give at least 5 years. So we have a 5-year plan with everybody to make sure we can help them. Option number 3, working with us, is similar to the sourcing, which this is technically sourcing, is portfolio building, but a joint venture partnership. I'm not going to go into too much detail because joint ventures typically require a capital of about $500,000 minimum. So if you've got at least $500,000 sat there and you want to get invested, but you don't want the headache of these projects, because these are not simple. This is a 4-month renovation project, at least 16 weeks to do the whole project. And if you want to invest in a way that means you build a portfolio but don't want the headache of doing this, definitely reach out to us. Because the way we do that is we set up a limited company together, and then we literally, you put the money in, we do all the work, and we literally do everything so you can crack on with your life. And you can build a £1 million portfolio, multi-million pound portfolio, cash flow with equity, without having to lift a finger pretty much. So definitely reach out to us in that sense. So I hope that gives some context as to the 3 ways of working with us. So angel loan is super low risk and good capital building. Definitely recommend it. It's one of our favorites. This is more portfolio building for direct clients, where they come up to us with a pot of cash. They want to invest in these sort of projects. Option number 3 is joint ventures. And they build it that way. We've got a couple of joint ventures right now with flip clients who want to invest X amount and then have X amount of capital. So they invest, I believe that we've got one client from Turkey right now, investing 200 grand. And then he can actually say, okay, in 5 years time, you keep flipping, you keep doing the work. And in 5 years time, basically we have X amount of capital from the profits from the flips, and then we split profits on the back end, and he's made probably like 100 grand through doing no work. So that's the beauty of doing this. So hope I give some context on these. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. If you want to book in a call with us, I'll put the link in the comments. A link in the description to book in a call. Super simple. It's a link to our website where you can book in a call with us. Even if you're on the fence, and I can be very rambly on these calls, on these videos. If anything is unclear on what I've said, definitely book a call in, because the whole point of doing this and this video and this content is to reach as many people to help more people. Because what we do, we've got a great team here. We're builders, solicitors, brokers. We've got the full system in place. If you've got capital there but you're unsure, our call, there's no pressure on the calls. It's purely a case of getting your whole position and seeing how we can help you. So just to clarify that, there's not a sales pitch or anything like that. It's more just a case of saying, where are you? How can I help? Outline your options. A lot of people reach out to us and say, yep, I'm not ready for 3 months, but can we have a chat? It's really good because they say, okay, we're here now. In 3 months' time, we're going to be ready, or in theory, be ready with the capital. Can we almost have a rough plan in the meantime? No problem at all. It's all about helping people and building that way. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, hope I've given enough context on it, and hope everyone had a great new year.